For our interview, we decided to talk to Tony Hare, who is the Waste Management Coordinator here at Portland State, to get his thoughts and feelings on community involvement in Portland.
So, the main question that we wanted to ask you was, how do you get the people involved in helping with projects and getting people to be more green?
I think that question it's really interesting. A lot of times it involves networking. I think for instance, I noticed that with our waste reduction task force, where we have a lot of our student volunteers here on campus who are involved in waste reduction, recycling, and composting efforts here. A lot of them is a situation where they're referrals. So I get referred by professors, by different people here at the university who find students that have an interest in this and just don't know where to go, and so they kind of guide them to the task force. Also, I get people who are just interested in volunteering. They don't necessarily have a passion for waste reduction, but then they come and join the task force and they kind of develop a better understanding of what that means. And then I get students who just kind of walk in. Like the other day I was in my office and I had a student come in and ask, is there any opportunities to go volunteer? And I was like, come to the Waste Reduction Task Force. So a lot of what I have experienced is a lot of people either referrals from others, where they just kind of come in and join. We're also part of a hybrid task force, in that we have the Sustainability Leadership Center, where their student volunteer program, where they have students that they can join that through them as well. So there's a lot of different avenues. And how do you get people more involved? I think my most straightforward answer is to make it simple and fun, make it enjoyable for people. I think a lot of times with sustainability we make it overly complicated or complex, or put too many barriers in place that people feel like they can't get involved, or it's too confusing or too challenging for them. And I think the more that we try to chip away at those barriers and allow people to see that it is fun, it can be uplifting. Like I enjoy my job every day because I feel like I'm doing something that's helping, plus I'm doing it with people that I like to be around.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I also understand that in our paper that we read, it was saying that the use of fear in messages is not effective at all.
It's totally not. And that's the thing that fear, and I think overt manipulation of any way, you can usually, people see right through it, and it's a turnoff for most people. It's something that people look at and it's propaganda. They're trying to manipulate me in some way. And I would never, if you're trying to get someone to do something out of fear, what are they going to get out of it? It's not improving anything. You might get an end result occasionally, but if the fear is removed, then there's going to be none of the behavior, none of the sustainable behavior. If we're really talking about sustainability, it's about creating an idea and inspiring people to do something to where even if you're out of the picture and all of your tactics of trying to influence their behavior is gone, they're still going to do that behavior. It's going to be sustainable. They're going to continue to do it. And that's the thing, is how do you do that? And I think a lot of the times it's the opposite of fear. It's inspiration, it's hope. The more and more I'm seeing is that a lot of the messaging around recycling, around waste reduction is no longer do it because if you don't do it, climate change is imminent and it's going to destroy the planet and we're all dead. Or it's going to kill animals and it's going to do this or that. It's more about, look at the potential that's in this plastic bottle. Think about what it can become. This plastic bottle becomes a plastic bench in a park where kids play. Try to get that kind of message across, that there's value in something. Instead of making people afraid of it, or thinking that if they don't do it, something bad's going to happen to them or future generations. Try to tell them that, by doing this, you're enriching the future, you're investing in the future. And I think that message goes a lot further and has a much broader audience that it plays to, because people see truth in it. They say, yes, I care about the future. I care about the future of my children and my grandchildren. So I'm going to do these things, not because I'm afraid of what's going to happen, but because I want to make that future better.
Okay then.
So my last question is, In the article that we read, churches can be a very influential part in trying to get people involved and get people to be more sustainable with what they do. Do you agree with that?
I do. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that a lot of times, in fact, interestingly enough, I think the sustainability movement as a whole can almost be looked at by some people as almost its own kind of religion. There's definitely this idea of like a shared belief system that people have, and there's rituals and habits that we all do that is almost on a religious nature. So I think that there is a good fit between people who already are religious or spiritual that may attend church on a regular basis and people who are involved in the sustainability movement. I think that a lot of those barriers, especially with the younger generation of Christians who have kind of switched from this old school view of the world and they're placing it as one of dominion where they have the right to rule over the world and do what they want and name the animals and kill any plant they want or eat anything that they want and not worry about it, to one of stewardship, that they're here, they've been gifted with something from God and they think that they can make, take this valuable thing that's been given to them and make it better or take good care of it to show the relationship with God. So I think that has shifted a lot. You see a lot of younger Christians who are really passionate about climate change, about the environment, about food movements, about different things, and I think that's only because of this kind of shift. And I think that as a whole, we could do better about inviting those people into the movement, and not just with religion, but also different races, sexual orientations, socioeconomic classes, trying to invite them into the movement as well, so that when you go into a environmental movement and there's a meeting taking place and you walk into the room, you don't see a lot of the same kind of person, the same skin color, the same gender, the same background, economic background. You see more diversity, and that's hopefully where we're going. And I think that once you start doing that, they talk to their friends, it just grows from there, that it becomes more welcoming, and it's always a good thing.
And so my last question then is, from what you've seen, what is the number one thing that inhibits people or makes people not want to participate in green habits, and how would you fix this?
I think that the number one thing, the biggest barrier for most people in trying to adopt green habits is the idea that it's like too complex, too challenging for them to make a part of their everyday life. When in fact a lot of those behaviors are fairly simple. They're easy to incorporate, whether it's bringing, instead of using disposable bags, bringing a bag with you to the grocery store, changing the light bulbs in your home to energy efficient light bulbs, recycling. All of those behaviors really don't take a lot of additional steps or a lot of additional work to just make a part of your everyday routine. And a lot of times it's a lot of confusion about what is the right option to do. Like, should I become vegetarian or should I be vegan? Well, what's the better thing? Or we make it overly complex, and I think that we have to kind of meet people where they are, and first of all, and kind of realize that we're all not going to do the same thing, but to encourage that we can start adopting some of these behaviors, and they're simpler to adopt than people think they are. I think once you get that message out, you'll see people more willing, more ready to do that. And a lot of times those behaviors, sustainable behaviors, are also more affordable. Economically, they make sense as well. So I think that if you kind of just show that it's not as complex as what it is, and you keep your messaging simple, then people will oftentimes say, hey, this is not that crazy, I can do this. And then that's when you start seeing real change.
With it, but is to explore